Can you imagine? Can you? According to whom? According to all the countries, including the United States.
And by every single member state of the United Nations. It's not easy to often get unanimous agreement, and here's an area where everybody came to an agreement.
Though it may be difficult to comprehend the numbers, the fact of the matter is more than 2 billion people, over a third of the entire global population, live in extreme poverty, while a mere 5% own more than half of all the wealth. Imagine you live in Africa.
I remember a time when I sat waiting for my mother to come home and bring food. When she arrived, she said, "I hope we will get some food from your dad when he arrives." My dad arrived at 10 o'clock in the evening, and we didn't have food. My mother and my father were not sure what is the next date we would have food. You look and you say, how are we going to survive? A family sold their own daughter out, exchanged the daughter for food, so that the rest of the children at the homestead can feed. All over. I have never seen so much death myself. That's Africa.
Or imagine that you live in India.
Poverty means no food for days together, no water for days together. Poverty means no clothes on your body, covering your body with rags, papers, living in garbage bins. Poverty means sifting through garbage, seeing if there is any leftover food, and taking that out and eating. Poverty for a woman and poverty for a man are two different things. Thousands of female babies get killed immediately after their birth because they are so unwanted. If there is only one meal a day, that meal will be provided to the male child, and the female child will die of starvation. And we have one of the largest rates of maternal mortality. Women are more vulnerable. They're treated like second-class citizens. I find it very difficult that human beings don't understand poverty.
Imagine now that you live in Brazil.
We can talk about a poverty in the great urban centers of Brazil, where people live in absurd contrast. We have an enormous problem of racism, where children in those places don't have the same kind of opportunities that other children in the same city might have. Another face of poverty would be the poverty of rural areas, where there's an enormous concentration of land in the hands of a few.
The Millennium Development Goals are 8 historic, concrete, specific, achievable, but ambitious goals that every nation in the world signed up to in the year 2000. The 8 goals are reducing by half poverty and hunger, ensuring universal primary education, promoting the status of women, reducing child mortality, reducing maternal mortality, fighting the scourge and reversing HIV/AIDS and other diseases like malaria, ensuring environmental sustainability, and promoting a global partnership for development. And that 8th goal, the partnership for development, is in many ways where the rich countries come in. We're all in this together, and we're facing a lot of the same challenges, whether we're talking about disparities in the United States or disparities in India or global disparities.
What makes this time different? What makes this more than just another sweeping PR gesture?
I would say for the first time we have more of a plan of action, but also a commitment from rich nations to increase aid and do a better job of coordinating their aid giving, canceling debts, and reforming the trade regime.
Is it probable? Is it realistic?
The goals are definitely achievable. The clock is ticking. We're about halfway between the signing of the Millennium Declaration and the 2015 deadline. The success of some countries, even some of the poorest countries like Rwanda, Mozambique, Uganda, shows that the goals are eminently achievable.
How much money from the rich countries would it take to reach the target dates and goals?
It would take very little money to deal with extreme global poverty. For example, we work closely with the One campaign, which is asking for an additional 1% of the U.S. budget to go for poverty-focused development assistance. Currently, less than 1% of our budget is dedicated to global poverty. We have the resources. It's just an issue, really, of political priorities and allocation.
We did a little more research. and discovered that it may take as little as $50 billion a year, not per country, but in total, to achieve these goals. Now, that may sound like a lot to you and me, but in terms of the entire global pocketbook, it's peanuts. And world military spending? More than 1,000 billion per year. That's over $1 trillion, okay? The goals are looking more achievable by the minute. So what are the hurdles?
The biggest hurdle really is political will. Communities of faith have been huge supporters of the Millennium Goals and have been doing an incredible job. Certainly in the U.S., I would say they're probably the single biggest constituency that we have worked with in putting global poverty and the MDGs at the top of the agenda.
We wondered what more needs to be done.
So one of the first things that you can do is raise awareness, talk to other people about these goals, tell your own elected officials that you care about these issues and want them to get active and be involved. I'd also encourage people to join organized campaign efforts that are aimed at meeting these goals.
We took a detour just for a moment and spoke to Father Andrew Small, the foreign policy advisor to the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops and a supporter of the Millennium Goals. We asked him what he thought needed to be done, particularly by people of faith. His answer was as straightforward and challenging as Carol's.
People of faith bring that perspective of solidarity through their community of faith. I think if we can bring those bonds of solidarity to people so that our hearts break over what God's heart breaks over, then I think whether we meet these goals in the time frame set, we've got that commitment to continue trying. And I don't pretend that it's easy. Our salvation depends upon the well-being of all, and there's no easy way around that. I have no other message to say than you just have to do it.
I think it's important to raise our consciousness within each country and to change the ways that we think so that we might transform this world. I think that the future has the chance of being something much better than what we live today.
A lot of people are using the year 2007 as a bit of a halfway point to the Millennium Development Goals and trying to use this concept that it's halftime, we need to step it up, we need to come from behind, we need to eke out this victory. And I think that's a great way of conveying a sense that it's not lost, there is time, we have a second half, it's blow the whistle, let's get this going.
Why not count down to something really important, like the year 2015 and the success of the Millennium Goals? We challenge everyone out there to make that happen. We challenge every TV station and network around the world to run a graphic every day displaying the status of each goal. We challenge Times Square, Trafalgar Square, and Tiananmen Square to run an electronic ticker measuring the success of each goal. We challenge every church, mosque, synagogue, and place of worship to keep track of the world's progress towards these goals. We challenge every corporation to buy ads and billboards announcing that progress. We challenge Google and YouTube and MySpace to keep a counter going. And we challenge everyone to make a pledge to do their part through advocacy and political action to make poverty history by 2015. Can you imagine? Can you?